Hi guys, Michael Fights with Friends here. Getting up early in the morning to cut Ariel Helwani out. Screw you, Ariel. You don't get every story. Uh, while we were sleeping last night, at least while I was sleeping last night, about 4 hours ago, about midnight Pacific time, this story broke. We talked about this fight being on UFC 227 last night on the Fights with Friends Live with the special guest Ian Brewster. I will take a minute again to apologize for the audio last night. I'll be getting my internet connection taken care of today, so hopefully we don't have to deal with that again. But we all remember times in the past that Dana White has looked at a fighter and really tried to light a fire under their ass. We all remember that moment. Those of us that are old enough, I guess, some of us have seen it on replay during the first Ultimate Fighter, where Dana White got in everybody's face and said, "Do you want to be a fucking fighter?" Well, apparently, he got in the face of Yara Rodriguez and asked him, "Do you want to be a fucking fighter?" And he didn't like the answer he got. Lance Pugmire, of all people, of the LA Times, it looks like was the first person to report this last night. It says the LA Times has learned that Yair Rodriguez has been cut from the UFC for refusing to take the August 4th Staples Center pay-per-view fight against Zabit uh, Magomedsharipov. Cut. This is a guy that had 6 victories in a row. 6 victories in a row before losing to Frankie Edgar at UFC 211 in just 2017. Rodriguez has been inactive ever since, so maybe that has something to do with it. Maybe there's something more going on behind the scenes, but I was very surprised. Bleacher Report said, as first reported by Lance Pugmire of the Los Angeles Times, Yair Rodriguez was officially cut by the UFC for refusing to accept a fight against Zabit Magomedsharipov. Rodriguez made waves with the UFC, of course, uh, by scoring 6 straight victories. He had that stunning knockout over former champion BJ Penn. Of course, BJ Penn was on, um, he was on the downside of his career, but a lot of people thought he was coming back. And Yair Rodriguez was really looked at as one of the top talents in the UFC, though, and I think he was. So Ariel did start to report on some things. He reported on this fight actually on May 8th. This was his tweet said reports that Zabit versus Yair Rodriguez is done for 227 or premature. I reported weeks ago that's the fight and date they want, but I'm told it's close. Uh, Not off the table, could very well happen, but not done. The next day, May 9th, Yair Rodriguez tweeted hashtag fake news. When reports surfaced that Rodriguez was set to return against Zabit, Rodriguez took to Twitter again and called it fake news. In response to this, the next day, Dana White tweeted at 11 o'clock last night while I was sleeping, real news, and then apparently fired him. One of the most exciting guys on the roster, one of the most exciting fighters in the UFC at those lighter weights. That just proves, I guess, that you better be willing to fight. I am very surprised by this, though. We've seen fighters recently that have lost, 3, 4 fights in a row, which it used to be 3 fights in a row was a death sentence. We do know the UFC is looking at over 700 fighters on their roster now. Dana could also be looking to, firm his grip on the UFC with the new ESPN Disney deal. frankly, I'm pretty shocked by this, though. I said, I'm sure there's some things behind the scenes that we don't know about. The fact that he hasn't fought since UFC 211 in 2017, probably one of them. But there's guys that have been on active, of course, for way longer than this. Now, of course, most of these guys are a lot more popular than Yair Rodriguez. Nothing against Yair Rodriguez, but the Diaz brothers have sat out for a very long time. People want to see them fight. There's not exactly a ton of people that are standing around waiting for Yair Rodriguez to fight, calling for him to fight. And so look this up. It was May 13th of last year, actually, that Uri fought. And this would have been an August fight. So it's already been a year since he's fought. Exactly a year today, actually. Since UFC 211. A year since he'd fought. They tried to book him for the fight in August, and he didn't take it. And that's what happened. So in the UFC, I guess, be ready at any time. They're not employees. They're not really part of the UFC. They are and they aren't. They're these independent contractors, and it's a strange thing. Kind of a one-sided thing. Where it's like you do as we tell you to do, and we don't have to do shit on our end except for when you fight. Then we'll pay you, and the UFC's always paid medical bills for their fighters. I will say that, even since back in the day when they didn't have to, they've always done it. Back in the Art Davie day, they did it. And a lot of organizations haven't. So I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole for too long, but like I said, I'm pretty shocked by this. I was looking forward to this fight also, very much so. I thought it was a great fight for Zabit. Tough fight for Yair Rodriguez, but definitely not unwinnable. Zabit looked human in his last fight. He got caught sometimes. He was in fight of the night. His opponent slips my mind a little bit. Sorry, I just woke up early to get you guys this story, so you'll have to cut me a little slack on that. But let me know what you guys think down there in the comments. Is this fair? This is a guy that, he hasn't fought in a year, but you offer him a fight, and he doesn't take it, or he doesn't sign right away. I guess sounds like there was some negotiations going on, and Dana's just like, I don't want to deal with this shit right now. You know what? GTFO. So, like I said, I'm very surprised, but let me know what you guys think. Boxing tonight, Showtime, Next Generations at 5 o'clock. We're gonna do that. You can watch along, take your Showtime free trial. If you haven't already taken it, if you have, use another email. No. We'll be there for that tonight. And then, of course, Saturday is going to be a huge blockbuster. For those of you that don't hear from me until then, Saturday is incredible. We got Bellator. We got UFC. We got boxing. We got everything. And I'm going to start at like 3:45. We're going to do UFC prelims. We're going to go into Vasil Lomachenko fighting, one of the best fighters in the world, against Jorge Linares. And then we're going to go straight into the Bellator Grand Prix, the next fight in the first round between Ryan Bader and King Molal. But the news coming out today, the big news this morning, of course, is Yair Rodriguez being cut from the UFC. Let me know what you think down there in the comments. Fair, premature, or absolutely BS. I'm really curious to see what you guys think on this one when you wake up this morning. So you may be waking up to your mailbox beeping if you have your alerts on too loud. and because it is 4 in the morning here on the West Coast. But until I see you next, hopefully tonight at 5 p.m., I love you, I respect you, and I'll see your fine asses later.